Last week I said C.J. Stroud in the MVP conversation. I was wrong. He's now the leader. For me, he's the leader. We're in mid-November.
He can't be.
Absolutely,
he can't be.
Teddy.
The team's not good enough.
We're in mid-November.
You've got 7-2 football teams out there. You've got 8-1 football teams out there.
So that was an interesting conversation, and this is one that I feel comes up more in baseball than in football, which is how important is the team's success to your chance of winning the MVP award? Clearly, in football these days, we usually give it to the quarterback on a team that had a very good season. But I don't know that anyone is exceeding expectation. Any team in the league is exceeding expectation more than the Texans. They were 3-13-1 a year ago and had the second pick in the draft. He's got them in playoff contention. I think that qualifies, Graziano.
I think he's in the conversation. If they end up winning their division, I think he's a strong candidate. But I do believe that it has to be from a playoff team. It has to be from a winning team, because if you miss the playoffs, how valuable? I mean, you're going to miss the playoffs without you. Like I buy into that. So look, he's on a roll. They're playing great. They're doing everything great. They do not make mistakes at the end of games like we saw both teams make last night. Like they're locked in. But you know, it's.
I mean, I tend not to like. I get your point about them needing to be in the playoffs, being a winner team, but I tend not to like absolutes. But we can like saying absolutely your team must be in the playoffs, because sometimes there are special situations. And this is a team that nobody thought was going to be good. And I think we often do Coach of the Year based on like our expectations to what the result was. It's hard to argue with his impact on what this team has become.
That's it, not just on the field.
That's fair.
He means as much to the franchise as anybody does. Let's say this out loud. The Texans were a laughing stock. They were a joke of a franchise. They were what the Bengals were 5 years ago. And then Joe Burrow showed up, and just like that, they aren't anymore. And I feel like Stroud is having that impact on the Texans. Look, if they start losing a bunch of games now, the conversation changes. But right this minute,
half a season left.
Put the picks up. If we were going to pick MVP right now, we can't project what's going to happen.
Who I picked?
MVP right now. You copped out.
No. I have a point to make here. I think that whoever wins that game, their quarterback will end up being MVP. But you wouldn't give it to either one of those guys now. No, I would.
Well, Jeff would. Jeff gave it to Mahomes right now.
But here's the thing. They're the best team in the AFC right now. He's doing it with less receiving. His best receiver is a tight end. They're still finding ways to win. We all believe that he's the best player. If Patrick Mahomes wasn't on the Chiefs, you talk about like impact. How different would the league look if Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing for the Chiefs? So when you say
now,
MVP,
though,
that's what it is.
Right now, though, the numbers that Patrick Mahomes and that offense is putting up would suggest that they would be all right with a mediocre quarterback, because he's giving you that on occasion. So, like, if we're arguing about if you're arguing about value to a team, it's not about how good your team is. It's about how much value you add to that team.
Elevating guys. Let me just ask you a question. How many people in this room knew who Nico Collins or Noah Brown were before this season began? He's making stars out of players you've never heard of. And this week, Nico Collins wasn't even playing, and they still find a way to win the game at the very end.
Listen, the
kid is great.
We're not knocking him being great. There's a difference between being great and being the MVP of the NFL. And let me ask you this. If the Cowboys go to the playoffs and make a big run, if it hurts in the Eagles lose one game, you're going to give it to Caesar. If they go 500 or one game above 500, you're going to say he's the MVP of the league over Mahomes, Hurts, Dak Prescott. Like, it's not just about numbers. It's about who they're playing, how big of the games are they playing in. Yo, listen, I can tell you right now, there's been a lot of great players who never played in big freaking games. It changes things. These dudes are playing in big games each and every week. Numbers don't always tell every story. That's why good teams matter.
The tough thing about this argument is we're arguing about something in the future. I think we all agree C.J. Stroud should be in the conversation.
Sure.
What he's done right now. If we get to the end of the year and he's still doing things like this, then we have to really consider it. And these other quarterbacks
at 9-8, it ain't going to change my opinion. At 9-8, it would not change my opinion.
By the way, there are two defensive players on the screen.
I like Domonique's
pick. That doesn't happen often. I'm trying to come up with some justification for it. If you watch,
leave them out there.
That they were kneeling the ball down consistently. Is there any chance you have to be concerned that instead of kneeling it down on that last play, because it's third down, they have another play, that they might throw a pass?
Okay, fine. No, I got it. Fine. That's fine. The field goal block team, because field goals are so hard to block, is always the base defense.
Right.
Put your base defense out there and play safe the entire time. That's what a team should do and would normally do. Why at the end they're rushing people on and off, creating opportunity for
It's not like Sean Payton was going to go, oh, They're in base. Check. Let's go run this play.
Exactly.
They were kicking the field goal to win the game. They were already in field goal position.
It's a risk-averse offense to begin with, right? Like they're not going to take a chance in that scenario that results in a turnover.
It's outthinking yourself.
So the point that we're making, I want to hope that it is as clear as we think it is. They screwed this up before the ball was snapped.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mistake Buffalo made was before the ball was snapped. The 12 men on the field piece of it is the residue of the fact that they should never have put themselves in that position in the first place.
It would be one thing, to Fox's point, if they were having to hurry and rush on. That's what they're practicing. They stand on the sideline. Okay, 14, 13. So all of a sudden, everybody's moving back and forth. But that was after a play had just occurred. The ball got spotted. There was no surprise, no hurry in this situation.
But when there is a rush situation like that, because field goals are so hard to block, we don't switch.
That's right.
Like the defense doesn't switch.
No.
If we're going to do a rush kind of process for the kicking team, defense stay out there, play safe. Make them execute.
That's right.
You know how many times you see field goals blocked in this league? It doesn't happen that often. So running on this personnel, to me, seems absurd. Leave the group out there that's out there so you don't have any mistakes.
I keep going back to Josh Allen saying we shouldn't have put ourselves in this position in the first place, right? Like, it doesn't come down to this if you don't turn the ball over 3 times in the first half.
Right.
Like Buffalo Bills, I mean, we can focus on this end-of-game situation all we want. And it was terrible. But the Bills, the first-place team in the AFC East beat the Broncos by 50. Like, you don't have to let the Broncos hang around and beat you at the end with a field goal. Buffalo had plenty of chances to take control of this game and rejected every single one.
So let's focus on that for a minute here. Because Josh Allen is a superstar, and rightfully so. And to be clear, a minimum, conservatively, 26 teams in the NFL would give anything to trade quarterbacks with the Bills. So this is not meant to diminish what Josh Allen is. It's meant to ask what he is, because he's a brilliantly talented player. But the mistakes, it just feels like they're never going to go away.
He's the reason. He's the reason why you're an AFC contender, and he's the reason why you will be a pretender. It's both, right? Because the way he plays dictates what your team does. If he turns the ball over like he did last, and take away the one that's a tip from Gabe Davis, right? The tipper. You can't have a fumble between you and the running back there. You can't throw that interception. You can't have those. And you look at the games they've lost and how much of the responsibility goes to Josh Allen. And again, it's risk-reward, right? Is that you want those risky plays because he is so good. But when it starts to fail and bite your team and your defense is depleted as it is, it puts you in a very difficult situation to try to win a game.
Yeah, I mean, his talent is the reason we hold him to this standard, right? I mean, the Buffalo Bills are not trying to finish 500. They're trying to win the Super Bowl. So we can criticize him in that context and say, well, is he not making the right kind of plays and enough of the right kind of plays to win them the Super Bowl? They're also a team that has had all kinds of stuff happen to it. They're down 5 starters on the defensive side of the ball last night. They have one receiver that can consistently catch the ball, and he only had, 5 targets?
Yeah, 3 catches.
3 catches.
Stefon Diggs.
So look, there's a lot going wrong there that isn't Josh Allen, but what has happened is their margin for error has eroded because of all this other stuff. Yeah. And so when the errors do happen, they become that much more costly.
Josh Allen is a great quarterback.
Yes.
With the mistakes. If you average it all out with the mistakes, he is great. Sure. If you eliminated those, he's the best quarterback we've ever seen. So I think arguing that we're going to fix Josh Allen is a mistake. It's a fool's errand. You get the good with the bad with Josh Allen. You have to address the other issues on the team. The thing that was most concerning is the interception that he threw in this game, not the Gabe Davis tip. That's not on him. The other one, sometimes he throws interceptions that are him trying to do amazing things. I'm fine with those because sometimes you can do it. That interception, just a terrible throw.
At the worst possible time.
Bad throw at a bad time.
Final minute of the half.
It's
behind them 3 points.
And it's behind the receiver. That's the type of thing that you think that you can coach out of him. It's make these good situations, but it's hard to coach it out of him when your coach at the end of the game is not prepared for those situations. It all seems to be consistent.
And if you're wondering if things are about to get ugly in Buffalo, we have an indication. The answer may be yes. This is the schedule they have coming up, and it is brutally difficult. But Cindy, if we could, can we please put the Trevon Diggs tweet up there? I'll remind everyone, Stefon Diggs, superstar receiver for the Bills, who only had 5 targets and 3 catches last night. His brother is Trevon Diggs of the Cowboys, who tweeted last night, man, 14 got to get up out of there. Domonique, how should we interpret that?
I think we need to take it quite seriously, and the Bills fans need to be very concerned. If it was just a random family member, some cousin or something, or one of his friends, then I would be like, oh, they just blowing smoke. It doesn't matter. This is his brother, who is a superstar NFL player who understands the ramifications of a tweet like this. He's not sending that out if he thinks that it's going to land his brother in an uncomfortable situation.
This thing was a powder keg before the season started.
Yes.
I mean, it's already frosty, right? Last year at the end of the season, they had issues. Now coming into the season, are they friends? Everybody's friends when you win. When you start losing, all of a sudden the warts of that friendship start to show. That's where we are. It's frosty in the huddle. Nobody, this guy, like you said, 5 targets. If you're Stefon Diggs, I think he leads the league in receptions or maybe targets, whatever it is. He gets a lot. It don't matter. It's not enough. If you're Diggs and you're losing games, I want more opportunities because I'm the most explosive player. And by the way, Josh Allen wasn't Josh Allen until Diggs walked in that building. So he is as equally important to this offense, and they are not featuring this dude. And when your brother puts it out there, for good reason.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, if they rip through the next couple games on that tough schedule and win and go to the playoffs and make a run, sure, everything's fine. But if they don't, then you could be looking at a situation where 14 gets up out of there.